Welcome to episode 4036 of Why I Fucking Hate Men. Lord. So, me and the girls went to the casino last night, okay? We go to the casino, we go to dinner, we went to Avalon, which was the club at Mohegan. I've never been, it was fun. While we're there, me and this beautiful man are like gorgeous, tall, good teeth, good skin, dressed well, beard, haircut, like the whole nine. So he finally approaches me, we dance a little bit, we talk, we're drinking, his friend is vibing with my friends, whatever, cool beans. We get to the point where we're like asking each other for contact information. So I ask him if he has Instagram and he says no. Asked for my Snapchat and I looked at him and I was like, I'm 28 years old. I don't have a Snapchat. I don't even use Snapchat. And I was like, but I have a phone number. Walks us to coat check. He's fucking, his arm is up like this. I'm holding on to his arm. We're like walking through whatever. Mind you, the first question this man asked me when he approached me was, are you married and are you in a relationship? And I said, no and no. Are you single? And he said, yes, I am single. And then asked us if we want to ride home. And the girls looked up at me and immediately were like, we've all been drinking. Like, we're getting an Uber. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, I would feel more comfortable going with my friends. Like, I'm not going to go in your car. I just met you. And he was like, all good, whatever. Like, I promise I'm not drunk. Like, if you guys want like a free ride, I don't mind. And we were just like, no, like, we're just going to pay for an Uber. And we had exchanged phone numbers. So when I get back to our hotel, I get a text from him and he was saying he wanted to come hang out for a little bit. And I was like, oh, we just DoorDashed food. So like, you can stop by for like a little while, but like the girls are going to go to bed. So, you know, he ends up coming to the hotel, but like, again, girls were like upstairs in their pajamas. So we just like, we're going to talk in my car for a little while. Cause like the fucking club was so loud and I'm fucking getting old and I couldn't hear anything. So we're like, we planned on chatting for a little while just to like get to know each other a bit before he left. We end up smooching a little bit. Okay. He asked me if I want to like take it there. And I said, nope, I'm cool with this. And he was honestly very respectful and was like, you know what? No problem. Like, absolutely. And like even asked to kiss me, like not in a weird way. We finish schmooching and he starts literally telling on himself. This motherfucker looks at me and he goes, so yeah, the girl I've been talking to. And I said, you just told me you're single. And he was like, yeah, no, like, we're not in a relationship. Like, I do my thing, she does her things. Like, I'm not really sure where it's gonna go yet. But like, I think I'm in love with her. And I'm actually going to look at a condo with her tomorrow. My brother in Christ, what the fuck? And so I'm looking at him and I was like, hey, so I definitely think you probably have feelings for this girl. Like, you should probably figure that out. And at this point, I'm thinking he's being honest about it being like a situationship situation. So I'm literally giving this dumbass fucker a pep talk, being like, feelings don't come around very often. Like, if you really have feelings for this girl and you're in love with her, like, fucking go for it. Ask her to be in a relationship. Like, fuck this. Like, you go get your girl. So I wake up this morning. And when I said no to him last night, obviously it's because I just fucking met him. Like, I'm not gonna like immediately, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's too soon. So, but my gut was screaming. Don't do it. So I back search his phone number this morning because I'm like, you said you don't have Instagram, but I'm going to find your full name to find at least a Facebook account, something. This dumb motherfucker. Find his Facebook on the first search after I find his full name. Literally, his Instagram was linked in his Facebook. Okay. First thing, I go on his Facebook. His fucking profile picture is of him and his girlfriend on vacation. Go to his Instagram. Feed post to the fucking nines back until like 2020 with this girl. Then I'm going through his comments to find her page. Go to her page. This girl has a full highlight on her page of this man, initial in the bio, and fucking just her whole page is his face. Because what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you're out at a club in a relationship lying? Like, when I tell you, I feel like being in a relationship with a man is just a fucking humiliation ritual at this point. Like, I don't trust none of them. Sorry, girlies, if you're in a relationship. I hope it's happy, and I hope he is fucking dotting his I's, crossing his T's, P's, Q's, and the whole nine. Because these men This is insanity. Like, this is also not the fucking first time this has happened to me in the last 2.5 years. And, like, I've been on the other end of this. So I was like, oh, I'm telling on you. I'm telling on you. And I told on him.
I often get into things without trying. When I was 16 years old, basically I helped a woman, like a grown woman, catch her husband like full on cheating. It's gonna sound really bad, but it's really not. So basically, whenever I was 16, I didn't have a car and I was working, and so I saw this number on this guy's car when I was at a gas station, and I was like, oh, I wonder how much the car is, like, because it was like a for sale car. So I called him and he saw me and I was like, hey, I just saw that your vehicle is for sale. I just wanted to know how much you're selling it for. And basically he was like, he told me some price and I was like, no, I was not interested. And then he started like trying to make passes at me, I guess, like, oh, like, who are you? Like my name, like how old I am, like all this stuff. And I'm 16 at the time and I know that this man is very, very grown. And so I was like, you know what? No, thank you. So I just didn't respond. I'm actually using the La Roche-Posay Double Repair Face Moisturizer with the SPF. This is actually the second one I've bought, and I think it's a really good moisturizer. I didn't respond at all. Like, I didn't want to entertain that because it was really weird. So like 2 days later, I get a call from that number and I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to block this number because he's being weird, right? But a girl texts me, and I know it's a girl because she's like, hi, this is, let's say Josue. I have no idea what his name was. It was something with a J. It's like, hi, this is Josue's wife. And the girl was like, he has a kid and he has a baby on the way, and I don't know whose number this is, but you're messing with a married man, like all this stuff. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, girl, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm 16 years old and I was not messing with your husband. So basically I texted her back and I was like, hey, like, I don't know who you think you're texting, but, and I don't know why, cause like 16 years old, like, I don't know why I was like, let me text her back and tell her. Anyways, so I texted her back and I was like, you know, sorry girl, like, I'm not doing anything, I promise. Like, I was asking about the car that's for sale, blah, blah, blah. She must have been going through it, girl, because she was, like, venting to me. Next, I'm putting on the Liquid Poreless e.l.f. Putty Primer. So she was, like, full on telling me, like, I'm so sorry, like, he's cheated on me so many times. I think part of her maybe thought that I still was, like, somebody else, and I was like, no, girl, like, I'm 16 years old. So she was like, can you help me? And I was like, what? How could I help you, Miss Ma'am? And me, I'm just like, okay, like, I wonder what she's gonna want me to do or what she wants help with. Me at 16 years old, I was like, baby girl, what do you need? I'll help you. She then proceeds to tell me, she's like, do you think that you could try to text him and act like you're interested in him? And I was like, well, honestly, like, I'm not super comfortable with that. That sounds like a lot. And she's like, please, girl, like, I just know that he's cheating on me. He cheats on me, that he would. And in my head, I'm like, well, then just leave, girl. Like, I was so innocent and so sweet. Little me was way too giving, I think. And so I actually agreed to it. And so how she wanted to do it was, she wanted me to act like I was interested and to try to meet up with him. She wanted me to meet with him at a hotel. Mind you, I told her, I said, I'm not leaving my house. I'm not giving you guys my address, nothing. Like, I'm not giving any personal information. Anything that I am willing to do is basically just like to lead him on. And so she was like, okay, cool. So I'm using the Morphe Meredith Duxbury foaming face primer, and I'm obviously a sucker for consumerism because I literally just got this because it's like foaming and I was like, oh, that's cool, it's like a primer that's foaming. So I'm using this as like a second primer because I like the like sticky feel that it gives me. She was getting like all the texts that I was sending him, so I basically acted like I was interested in him, which it honestly grossed me out. But I was just like, whatever, this is gonna be good for her, she's pregnant. I was like, let me save you, girl, let me save you. And basically he was like, yeah, like I totally want to meet up at a hotel. It was like actually his idea. I didn't even have to say that. And I was like, oh, can we meet? And he's like, yeah, like, do you want to meet at a hotel? And I like texted back, I was like, sure. And I'm like sending her the screenshots, and I'm like, is this enough? I told her, I was like, is this enough? Like, he agreed to meet at the hotel. And she's like, can you please keep going? And I was like, oh. I'm like, oh my God, this is weird. He's like totally like, okay, date time. It was like the next day. And so the next day he sends me like the address. It's like, I booked it, sends me the screenshot confirmation. I'm sending all of this to her, right? This is all going to like her personal number. And so he like is like, okay, I'm on my way. I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. And I feel like I get good karma for this, by the way. Like, I feel like doing this has sent me some good karma in my life, because people, you know, I've been able to find things out about, you know. Anyways, so again, I just feel like I got really good karma for doing this. Thank you. So basically, like, she's there too. They're like about to meet up, dude. And I'm, you know, texting him. I'm like, where are you? I can't find you. He's like, oh, I'm in the lobby. I'm waiting. She found him. And I didn't hear anything for like an hour and a half. And then she texts me, like, mind you, I'm sitting at home doing nothing. She texts me and she's like, I'm using the Morphe continuous setting mist. After I prime and I let it like dry in, I put setting spray on. So she's texting me. I feel so bad too, because she's pregnant and she obviously is like married to him and she has a kid with him. And so I felt really bad, because I'm like, this is her life. Like, this is a grown person, and she feels like she has to vent to me, and I'm like a 16-year-old girl just trying to help out, you know? And so she tells me that she caught him and she took pictures of him there, and like she confronted him, thanking me. And I was like, okay. And I told her, I was like, hey, ma'am, like, I actually have to block you now, because you know, you guys are adults. I told her, I'm sorry. Like, if you need resources, there's resources out there to help you, but like, I can no longer participate in this. But she was really appreciative of like that. And I think that like always made me feel like really good inside. And I never said anything, because I was young at the time, and I was like, I don't know if I can get in trouble for like texting adults. I don't know. You know, when you're young, you think you can get in trouble for everything. So yeah, that's one of the most random things that I think about from time to time, where I'm like, dang, I really did that. I was way too young to be participating in stuff like that, but it was definitely a funny story.
Get ready with me while I tell y'all how my boyfriend in college lied to me about having 2 kids and kept them from me for 3 years. I hate telling this story because I sound so dumb, because I was. I was 18 years old. I went to this party with my friend in college. She was a year older than me, and I didn't drink, I didn't smoke or anything, but she was like, hey, let's go to this party. So we pull up to the party, and there's a ton of football players there. Red flag alert. Yes, he was a college football player. I should have prefaced with that, but yes, he was a college football player, and yes, he was the one that turned my phone into the iPhone curve, if y'all saw that video. So we're there at this party with a ton of football players, and he says something to me about how, like, I'm not drinking, and I was like, oh yeah, like, I don't drink, you know, that's just not something that I do. And so he was like, oh my God, I don't drink either. So we like bonded off of that and had a conversation about that. The friend that I go to the party with ends up wanting to hang out with his roommate. So I'm basically stuck with this kid, and we're like forced to hang out with each other. So he's like, do you want to go back to my apartment? Da 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 da. Okay, yeah, cool, whatever. So we literally are just like sitting there talking and trying to make conversation, because we don't know each other and we're like forced to hang out because of our friends. Anyway, he's like, I actually think that you're very pretty. Ask for my phone number. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So I end up leaving. Honestly, y'all, I thought I was never gonna see this man again. He ends up texting me the very next morning and is like, hey, I'm going to camp soon. I would love to see you before I go to camp, because the party was before school started. It was like in August, and you know, all the football players go to camp. So he was like, I would love to see you before camp starts. Like, let's go on a date or whatever. So we end up going on a date, and it was cool. It was cool. It was all right. And I didn't think anything of it, honestly, but my issue at the time was I was super young, and I would like to emphasize that. I was 18 years old, so I thought like a man being like obsessed with me was like love, and that's just not the case. I know that now being older, but y'all, he immediately was like obsessed with me, and I loved that. So he goes off to camp, FaceTimes me every day, talks to me every single day on the phone. All is well. We're like getting to know each other. Cool. We kick it off. We're two peas in a pod. We're both Pisces. I should also state that. Horrible combination. And so we basically like bond over the fact that our birthdays are like a week apart. We're getting to know each other. I'm an athlete. He's an athlete. I played basketball. He played football. And okay, cool, great. So we end up dating. And we start dating, everything's cool, everything's great, and it honestly was like, it was good until it wasn't. It was like, he got me, and so then like his true colors started to show. Now, I felt like I was over at his apartment, pretty much sleeping there almost every single night. Granted, I did work multiple jobs. I was a student athlete. He was a student athlete. He traveled a lot for football. So it's like, yeah, you have your obvious things where you can't see each other, but I felt like we spent a lot of time together. Fast forward, years later, I find out that one of my best friends who was dating his best friend, they were roommates. They ended up actually getting married. She told me like years later after we broke up that he cheated on me all of the time. And then we ended up becoming really, really close after me and him broke up. And like she told me all the tea. But anyway, so I feel like I'm staying over there every single night. We're getting closer. Now we've been like pretty much together for about a year. And I go over to his house one day and I see that in his apartment he has like a drawing from a little kid. I didn't think anything of the drawing because football players were always doing volunteer work and they were always around little kids. So I didn't think anything of it, but there was multiple drawings that a little kid had drawn him in his apartment. And then I peeped maybe a couple weeks later that his screensaver was of a little girl, and she was about like 5 or 6 years old. He was 22 at the time, and she was probably 4 or 5. And I remember I had gone to his house for a Halloween party, so like we're knee deep into football season. And I remember asking him, I was like, hey, who is the little girl on your screensaver? Like, she is so cute. And he said, my niece. Now, keep that. That's an important part. Keep that in your mind. So I'm like, oh my God, she's so cute, da 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 da. And mind you, I hadn't met his family at this point because his family did not live in the same city we lived in. So if we wanted to go and see them, we had to drive like multiple hours to go see his family. So I think nothing of it. I'm like, oh my God, she's so cute. Okay, moving on. We're going to the party. We have a great time. And then months go by. Everything's cool. I don't think anything of it. The little girl's still his screensaver. And then I think we go back to training camp again. Not training camp. Camp for football, Jesus. So another year goes by and now he's at camp again. And so we did not really post each other on the internet like that. Social media today was not what it was back then. It just wasn't. Like, we didn't post each other like that and whatever. So he ends up FaceTiming me while he's at camp in college the next year, and I screenshot like the picture of us FaceTiming and I post it on like my Twitter, I think, and I said something about like, you know, I missed him and that I loved him because he was at camp and like I couldn't see him. So I get this girl likes it, and I don't know who she is. Like, she just liked the tweet, and in her bio she had an emoji of a baby emoji, and then the name of, I believe, was her child, but it had the same last name as him. So I call him and I'm like, hey, I didn't know, y'all was so dumb. I like call him and I'm like, hey, like mentioned it in passing. I was like, this girl like liked my tweet and I don't know like who she is, but do you know her? Because in her bio, she has like a name and it's your last name. He freaks out. He's like, oh my God, block her, like she's crazy. Girls aren't crazy, men make them crazy. So I was like, that's suspicious. So I was like, well, what do you mean she's crazy? So then I go immediately, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to call you later. Like, I make him think like I don't know anything that's going on, right? And I go and check her Twitter, I do some digging, and she has pictures of a baby, and the baby has his last name. So I call him, and I'm crying because I know the answer, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, what's up? I'm like, can you tell me who this girl is? And y'all, he was holding it down. He was not going to tell me for nothing. And so I'm like, please do not make me ask you this question. I remember I said that vividly. And he was like, what's the question? And I was like, is this your baby? Y'all, the baby was like 6 months old. And so I was like, is this your baby? And he was like, yeah. So I proceed to bawl my eyes out, as one would. And I just remember feeling like helpless because I'm like, okay, you have a 6-month-old baby. I don't know how to explain the feeling, you guys. It's like when you feel like you're going to be with someone forever and then your world changes because now you have to share that person with, a baby mama and a child. It's just not the best feeling. And then I end up forgiving him like a dumb. And we end up staying together, and I was like, we can work through this because I was just so young and stupid. And then I remember posting him more on my page because at this point we had been dating for about 2.5 years, and like, you're my man, so I'm going to post you more. And the football team was doing really well. They had made it to the national championship. And I remember posting him and like saying good luck. And I was traveling to all the games. And so I was posting all the football stuff. And she had DM'd me, and she was like, the same girl that had messaged me on Twitter. She found me on Instagram, the baby mama, and she messaged me, and she was like, it's just so crazy how he's willing to spend all of his time with you and no time with his daughters. Why did that word have an S on it? Why is daughters with an S? Immediately freaked out. So I message her, and I'm like, I've never spoken to her. So I'm like, what do you mean daughters? And she was like, see, you don't even know who you're dating. Like, you need to ask more questions. Like, you really think like y'all are so in love, but you don't know anything about the man that you're dating. And I'm like, well, can you please enlighten me? So she ends up giving me her phone number, and she's like, call me because I need to talk to you, and like, I need to tell you who you're dating. Okay, I have 10 seconds left, so go to part 2 for the next part. Okay, part 2 to how I found out my boyfriend in college of 4 years had 2 kids and lied to me about it for 3 years. So back to the baby mama. So she ends up giving me her phone number, and she's like, I think you need to call me. Like, I need to tell you like who you're dating because you clearly don't know. And granted, she was right. Like, I didn't know nothing about nothing, clearly. And so I end up calling her, and y'all, I just like don't talk to baby mamas. I don't need to like engage in that. And I'm not the type of girl to just run my mouth. I really stay to myself. Like, I was a student athlete. I had 3 jobs. I was dealing with him. I was dealing with my own personal stuff. Like, there was nothing for me to speak to her about. But at this point in time, I was like, clearly she's going to tell me because he's not telling me nothing. So I call her, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And she's like, so that's my baby daddy. And I'm like, well, obviously we've established that. And she was like, I have a 6-month-old with him, 6 or 7-month-old. I can't remember. She was a baby at the time. She wasn't even 1. And then, and then he also has a 6-year-old daughter that lives with his parents, because he had her on accident in high school. Let's go back to oh, that's my niece on my screensaver. So I asked the baby mama, I said, okay. And I said, can you please send me a picture of his daughter from the east side? And she was like, yeah, sure, 1 second. Because one thing about her is she was willing to give me all the tea. Like, she was going to throw him under the bus with any means necessary because she wanted me to leave him because she wanted to be with him. Now, why either one of us wanted to be with him blows my mind to this very day, and we'll get to how their story ended. But so I'm like, okay. So she sends me a picture of the 6-year-old, or I think she was 5 at the time. Sends me a picture of the 5-year-old, and it is indeed the little girl that's been on his screensaver. And I am like, there is no way on God's green earth that this man lied about having a child and said that was his niece. Like, y'all realize when you die, you have someone to answer to, right? Because what? blown away. So at this point, I know she's not lying to me, because what does she have to lie to me for? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get off the phone, go talk to him, da 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 da. So she thinks she just did her big one, because she was like, perfect, like, I got this girl mad at him. She's going to leave him so I can be with him, because she wanted to be with him. And so I call him, and he's like, yeah, that's my daughter. I had her in high school when I was like 16 or something. And I was just like, we've been dating for years. You've never gone and seen her. You've never gone and seen your parents. All you want to do is play football, party, drink alcohol, hook up with girls, cheat on me. Like, there's no room for children. And so then I get upset, because I realize, like, he's a deadbeat. Like, I'm dating a deadbeat dad, and that is, like, disgusting to me. So, but you know, the stupid girl that I am, or was, I should say, I stayed with him after that. And then the baby mama gets pissed, because she's like, she thought she was going to win him over by that, and I was going to leave. Well, I didn't leave. He begged me to stay. Begged me to stay. And so I ended up staying, because, you know, Captain Fix-A-Ho over here just thought when I was younger that I could just fix every man under the sun. And I don't know why I thought I was Dr. fucking Phil, but that's how the cookie crumbled. So I ended up staying, and I ended up forcing him to have a relationship with her. Like, we ended up driving over to his parents so much, because I was like, it's holidays, we need to go see her, we need to go do this, we have the weekend off, let's go see her. And he never wanted to go. And it was always me, like, being like, no, we need to go see her, like, that's your child. So long story short, we ended up, like, being on and off for 4 years. And the whole time, he was not a good parent to her, and only cared about literally going out and playing football. And I eventually ended up coming to my senses way too late, and ended up leaving him. And he ended up going back and being with that baby mama. He had nowhere to go, because we lived together, and I essentially was like, you can't live here anymore. After I really, like, one day, y'all, just came to my freaking senses. And it was like a light bulb switch. I don't even know how to explain it. And he ended up leaving, because I told him he couldn't stay there anymore. And then he ended up going and living with her. And I think they tried to be together for about a year. And then he was like, we tried to be together for the sake of our child. And obviously, you know, that just doesn't work. So they ended up breaking up. And fun fact, he now has multiple children with multiple women. I want to say he has 4 or 5 kids with 4 or 5 baby mamas. I am quite literally the only one that did not get pregnant by him, by the grace of God himself. I did not get pregnant. He wanted me to get pregnant many times, and I just lied and told him I would get off birth control, and I would take my birth control in my, like, backpack to class. And then when I would get to class, I would pop the pills, because you're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. I was dumb enough to stay with him, but I wasn't dumb enough to not get pregnant, because he tried to get me pregnant so many times. And I wasn't that dumb, but I was dumb enough to stay. I don't know how to explain that. But yeah, moral of the story is, don't date a brown skin Chipotle bag with dreads who happens to be a wide receiver at a university and plays football, because you're not going to get anywhere. I'm 28, almost 29. If I could tell my 20-year-old self anything, it's don't touch the football players. You're not going to fix them, and they're not different than anyone else. They're not. I have a million and trillion 12,000 stories of things that man had did to me in the 4 years we were dating. If you would love to hear them, let me know in the comments of anything you would like to know, because yeah, that man did his big one on me, and I just was dumb. And yeah, we are dumb no longer. You live and you learn. But yeah, that's the story.
Okay. I'd love to talk about how you called out your, I assume now ex, maybe not, person on how they cheated. Because I've got story time. I figure if your man's going to cheat on you and you find out, you might as well have a little fun on how you call him out. So this is what I did. So this was with, I'll call him my pandemic boyfriend. We were dating before the pandemic hit, and as the pandemic came through, we were like, oh, look at us, we're doing really well, let's move in together. So we did. And things, relatively quickly became clear to me that I was like, I'm not sure that this was a really intelligent choice for us. We rushed things. We didn't know each other to the degree we needed to. And here we are. And my spidey senses were telling me things, you know, you just get a vibe, something shifts. And so I did what I consider the mature, healthy thing. And I said, hey, how are we doing? Just wanted to check in. Are we okay? You seem quiet. And he said, we are so good. All is well. And I said, all right, you know what? Me as a healing woman, I will take that at face value. Cool. We're good. We move on. We go back to living our lives. We work our jobs. We go out in the woods because it's the pandemic on the weekends and we can't be with other people. And he's got a really cool RV. But here's the thing. I no longer ignore my gut, my body. When she says something's up, I'm going to listen because she's right. So things still felt off. It was just literally a feeling. I'm not going to accuse anybody of something just because I feel off. I need evidence. So here's what I did. A few weeks later, he came home. It could have been a couple months. He came home from work and I had been home maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And you know when someone, he just screamed guilt. His body language looked shameful and guilty. And that's kind of weird. So he was in another part of the house. And I did the thing we're not supposed to do. And I walked over, unlocked his phone. Why? Because he had given me his passcode. And you know when you're walking over to something and you're like, or you're doing something and I could have stopped it, but I tell you something was nudging me along, just my little angels, I'll say. And so I just like made my way over to the phone, undid the code, looked right at the text. It was right up top. I did not have to dig. This man did not want to hide anything. And it was a little text feed. I took pictures with my phone and it was, you know, oh, how you doing? And a little bit of, you know, how do I say this? Oral sex desires that he wanted. And, you know, she said she had a headache. And he said, well, I got a remedy for that, honey. And so I took pictures, did my thing, stepped away from his phone. Like 30 seconds later, he comes out. It was a close call. By the way, I don't want to go through anybody's phone ever. I've never done it before, and I don't want to ever do it again. So I'm the type I sit with it. I'm not externally reactive. I'm very reactive, but internally. I sit with it and I process and I think. That's how I do. So I played it cool as a adorable cucumber, and he didn't know a thing. So went to bed. Next day, off we go to work. Bye, honey. Have a great day. I got to process. I got to figure out how I'm going to handle this. So I spent the day at work. I come home. And this is what I decided to do. I made it home. He made it home a few minutes later. I must have had a look on my face. Because I went to go sit down next to him. And I said, honey, he said, what's up? Something's going on. I said, I have been so worried all day. And I gotta know, did you and Stacy find a remedy for her headache? Was it Advil? Was it ibuprofen? And the look on his face was surprise. And he's like, oh, Stacy? By the way, the names have been rhymed to entertain the storyteller. Stacy, oh, we're just friends. We're just friends. We just play. We talk like that. I'm like, you are? Oh my gosh, let's give Stacy a call. I'd love to talk to her. I knew he had female friends. I was very comfortable with that he has a big group of friends, married people, whatever. Yeah, all good. I had never heard of Stacy. She was new. I said, well, let's give her a call. I'd love to talk to her and get to know her since she's your friend. And he said, nah, we're not doing that. We're not calling anybody. We're not. So I did not go to the wedding. We did not last. We were not meant to be. Do not cheat on your person. Talk to them. It's very hurtful. It does make me wonder the question, because I don't like being a suspicious partner, but I feel what I feel. I see what I see. Like, I'm curious what people think. I don't think anybody wants to go through anybody's phone, but if I looked and I was right, was I wrong to look? I mean, I'm very comfortable with what I did. I'm at peace with it. I wouldn't do it another way. But I see a lot of talk around, like, oh, you shouldn't ever look in their phone. Well, I wasn't wrong, honey. That's all I'm saying.
Get ready with me while I tell y'all about how I found out that the guy that I was dating and living with was married. Let's get into it. Okay, girl, let me set the scene for you. So basically, my old job that I was at, I had met some new friends and they pretty much convinced me to make a Facebook dating account. I had barely just got out of like a 5 or 6 year long relationship. I hadn't been single in a long time. This was a whole other world for me and it opened up a can of worms for sure. Okay, so boom, I get on Facebook dating. I am not really feeling anybody. I'm definitely a lover girl, and everybody on Facebook dating was definitely just wanting a fast life that I did not want to live. I ended up matching with this guy, and even though we matched, we went a couple days without even speaking to each other, and randomly one day he hit me up. We started talking for a couple of days, and eventually it led to us meeting in person. We went out on a spontaneous date. We weren't planning on seeing each other this day. We were on FaceTime yapping it up, and somehow the conversation led to, oh, I'll drive down to your city right now and meet you. It was late at night. The only thing that was really open was bars and lounges. We ended up at this hookah spot. Honestly, that whole entire night kind of went really good. We pretty much told each other like, yeah, we go together. Fast forward into some time into us talking. I don't remember all of the timestamps and dates. He was put into a situation where he was getting put out of where he lived, and he literally had all of his stuff inside of his car and called me and was tweaking out and was like, I'm gonna live out of my car, I don't know what to do. He pulls up. We're here at the house. He's telling me everything that happened. So initially we thought that he was just gonna stay with me for a couple of weeks until he figured out what he was gonna do, but that ended up turning into months. And yeah, we basically ended up dating unofficially. While we were living together, I just kept on seeing so many red flags. We were fighting almost every single day. He would wake up in the shittiest fucking mood and it was just very hot and cold. One day he would be okay, the next day he wasn't okay. So fast forward a couple of months, I had actually messed up his bumper to his car. He was stressing out about how he was gonna fix his bumper. And although I was trying to be nice about the situation and be like, oh, if you need money, let me know, I was not going to give that man no money. Yeah, I fucked up your bumper, but you fucked up my head, so we're even. In the midst of all this, like, trying to figure out the bumper situation, we were laying in bed one night, and I noticed that he was being really weird. I look over at his phone, and he's texting his ex-girlfriend. I'm like, oh, you're living in my house. I let you come stay with me, and you're texting your ex in my crib? Yeah, okay. On top of it all, he wasn't fully an American citizen. He was here on a work visa, but he didn't have his green card yet. I had no problem with that. I mean, it is what it is. But he told me about this ahead of time, and he explained to me that he was in communication with his ex because somehow, some way, she had something to do with his case. Every time that I tried to talk to him about his case and how she was connected, he would always try to change the subject and would get so worked up that we couldn't even have the conversation. The stories that he would tell me about where he was from and how he got to the States and everything leading up to his life now was pretty traumatic, I feel like. I think that's also one reason why I was so patient with him and I stayed around for as long as I did. I just assumed that whatever was going on with his case was really hard to talk about, and I didn't want to push somebody to tell me something that they were not ready to talk about. Anyway, so yeah, basically he was texting his ex. I pressed him about the situation and I'm like, why are you texting her? Like, what's going on? Is there something happening with your case? And we completely just started arguing. Come to find out that he was asking her for money to pay for the bumper that I messed up. She didn't know that he was living with me, and she actually paid for the bumper and sent the bumper part to my house. I was not only upset at the fact that he was texting a girl on my bed, I was more mad that he really sat here and gave a whole other girl my address. I tweaked out a little bit, didn't mean to show my ass too much, grabbed all his shit, and I told him that he needed to leave that night. He was basically trying to make me feel bad and was saying that he had nowhere to go and that it was late at night. I ended up just going upstairs, woke up in the morning, got dressed for work, and I left. That morning, I was watching my cameras. He packed all of his stuff and he was gone. He eventually reached out to me and told me that he had to drive back to my city to pick up the bumper that was delivered at my house. And apparently his lawyer had mailed some important documents to my house and he needed to pick that up also. When he pulled up to my house, I had barely gotten settled in. I hadn't stopped at the mailbox yet. I told him to wait. I said, I'm gonna go run to the mailbox, I'll be back. And he was like, just go inside and sort through the mail and come back out with what I came for. I'm like, okay, cool. I go inside. So I'm going through all of the mail, right? And I come across the piece of mail that he came for, and I look at it and I see his first name and last name, and I start to walk towards the door. For some reason, something told me to look back down at the mail, and when I looked, bitch, I was fucking in shock. In shock. Tell me why when I looked back down at that mail, it said her name, last name, hyphenated his last name. I wish I was making this story up. Like, I wish I could literally say that I'm lying. And I'm not. Unfortunately, this happened and it's real life. I went outside and I asked him, I said, when I told you to leave my house, you said that when you come and grab your shit, you're gonna tell me all of the reasons why you've been treating me like shit, basically. He was like, Alexis, if I tell you what's going on, none of this would continue to happen. You would be done with me. We would be over. You would hate me. And I said, are you married? And he looked at me and he didn't say anything. And I showed him the piece of mail. Of course, he starts apologizing to me, the typical shit, right? Y'all are gonna be so mad at me for saying this, but I ended up in his car. When I tell you I should have walked away and gave him his shit and went about my life, I should have done it, but I didn't do it, girl. So he pretty much told me that they were not together, but they were still legally married and that they were gonna stay married until he got his citizenship. So of course I was trying to rationalize that. I told myself they just have this attachment. It's not like he's cheating on me or anything like that. Girl, it came down to us discussing whether or not we were gonna stay together or if we were gonna end things. He told me that he wanted to be with me and I gave him another chance, unfortunately. I should have ran away. I know. I don't want to hear it. I'm just gonna take my L in peace. Even though we decided to stay together and he expressed to me how much he loved me and how he should have married me instead, he still managed to cheat on me multiple times with multiple different people. I would be lying if I said I was a saint the whole entire relationship, because I definitely did some questionable stuff. I definitely match energy, which I may or may not be proud of, but I'm a different person now, so that's besides the point. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, to be quite honest with you. You know how sometimes you just want to give people the benefit of the doubt and you fall in love with potential? That's definitely what I did. Girl, I'm not proud of it, but hey, it happens sometimes. What made me even want to share this story was because I was up at like 4 in the morning praying, and I actually came to the realization that around this time last year, I was going through so much shit. There's so much stuff that can change in a year. Even though last year was so heavy for me, God was so close. I was definitely trying to rewrite his plan for me, and was trying to live the life that I thought was for me, and he was not gonna let me be comfortable in a situation that was not for me. And that goes for everybody. That's kind of, I guess, the message. Also, don't ever get on Facebook dating and try that shit, because it's not good.
I have to tell you this story. A long time ago, I was dating this guy, and I didn't date him for that long, maybe like 3 months or something. And I was like 22 years old, okay? So a long time ago. And he was really rude. So we kept breaking up on and off. And one night he was like, oh, I want to apologize. Like, I want to take you to dinner. I want to take you to this nice place, blah, blah, blah. So we go to dinner, and we're ordering wine, and then we order another bottle, and things are going really good, and we're laughing and talking, and then he goes to the restroom. And you know, when you're drinking alcohol, like, time is not, it just goes by so fast. So I'm not really paying attention much that he's in there for a really long time. And then the waitress comes to me, and I'm just like eating and drinking, and she's like, hey, I think your date left. And I was like, no, like, that would not happen. That wouldn't happen to me. That would not happen. And she was like, no, I saw him like walk out to his truck and leave. I was beyond devastated. Like, I could not believe, I just couldn't believe it. And I remember I like started tearing up, and this table next to me was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I overheard what happened, and I'm like, I just want to get out of here. So I got the bill, and it was $300. And I'm only like 22 years old. Okay. That's a lot of money for me. And so I paid it, and I remember leaving, and I was like in tears, and he had taken me there. So I didn't have a ride. And this was like, y'all, I'm old, okay? This is pre, like Ubers and stuff. So it was in an area that I grew up in. So I called a guy friend of mine that lived really, really close, like 2 minutes away. And I told him what happened. And this guy was like, what I guess the kids would call a gym bro now. He was like always in the gym. He was, played sports growing up. We were really close friends. And he picked me up, and he was livid. He was like, where does this guy live? And I'm like, no, doesn't matter. And he's like, no, like, this is unacceptable. You don't do that to a woman. And I'm like, no. And so we go back and forth, and he's like, I'm going to his house right now. Like, no. So I'm probably incriminating myself by saying this, like, on the internet. Hopefully it's been too long. But so we go to his house, and he throws his dumbbells that he had in his truck through the guy's house. I said, no, don't do it. And I didn't do it. But yeah, he broke like every window in his house. And then he threw it through the guy had like 3 roommates. So he did not have no money either, really, like, not like that, We were young. And he threw it through the roommate's car because this guy hid his truck inside his garage. Anyway, so we drove off, and it's like, oh, whatever, And then the guy calls me, and he's like, I know you did this, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not even in town. And I went straight out of town. So fast forward, I don't know how many years, 15 plus, more than, years. My friend and I are talking about guys that we dated, and now how they have money. And I just bring up this guy. I'm like, yeah, I've moved, by the way, like probably an hour, 45 minutes or so away from this city that I lived in, or town, whatever. And I'm telling her about this guy. I'm telling her the whole story. And she says, I said, yeah, I said, well, gosh, you know, what's annoying now is that where I live, there's a billboard outside of my house, my neighborhood, and it has his name on it. And he works on air conditioning units. Like, he owns the company. And I was like, can you believe this? And we were laughing, like, thinking, like, he still owes me $300, blah, 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 you know? And she's like, I know who this is. And I'm like, really? How? Like, he doesn't, like, live here. I'm sure he just has billboards everywhere, whatever. She's like, no. His daughter goes to school with our sons in the same grade. And she says his name. And she's right. I almost died. I was like, what in the world? Like, what are the odds that this guy has a son, same age? Because I basically got pregnant pretty quickly after we dated with somebody else and had our son. So it means he had to do the same thing with a daughter, and then moved in the same town, same area, like, so specifically that our kids go to the same school. And apparently his daughter likes my son. So what do? Have my son take her out on a date and rack up a $300 bill and leave? Like, what are we doing? Or do I go up to his place of business and say, you owe me $700 now because of interest? What do you think? Yeah, insane, huh?